Hi everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi there. Welcome to Galicia in Spain.
Welcome.
The rain has just started again, and it's a shame because it turned into such a beautiful day. Elise, hi there. Hey, nice to see you.
Hello, Elise.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you after so long. You've been out on traveling, I think. Chloe, hi there.
Hi,
Martine, so I know we're expecting quite a few people. Hey, thumbs up
Thumbs
for this place is spectacular. I mean, I knew I wanted to come here, and I wanted to come here because I'm just seeing if we're on time. We are. So, ladies and gentlemen, first, let me introduce you to Tiernan. O'Rourke.
O'Rourke, yeah.
O'Rourke.
Not a very Galician name.
no, not very Galatian, but these gentlemen I've known, I guess, for about 2.5 years now, virtually, and Tiernan was born in Vancouver, Canada, but you moved here when you were...
When I was like 2 years old, 3 years old, when I was very young,
Yeah.
we moved here to Galicia.
Moved here and
And I grew up here in Galicia, so I'm Gallego.
Gallego. So Sean is out actually giving a tour right now. And so Tiernan's taking me all around. I mean, I've learned a million things already, but I knew I wanted to come here. Well, I knew I always wanted to come here because this is Celtic Spain, right? Deep traditions. But also, it is so spectacularly beautiful. I did a little video you saw on Facebook earlier. But we thought, we'd spend about a half hour with you. Hopefully the weather moves away from us. It was looking good. But behind us is the Hotel Pison.
Son, yeah.
And who was he?
He was the captain of La Pinta, the caravel that brought the news to Bayona of the discovery of America. So it was the caravel that brought the news to Bayona, to the port of Bayona, to this beach that you see over here, to Playa Rivera. So that's a replica that you can see there in the distance. That's a replica of the boat, the caravel, and they say that it has the same dimensions of the original boat that went over there.
Just think, so 3 ships left in 1492 from the south of Spain. Hey Becky, nice to see you. They crossed over the ocean, of course. They landed on what is now Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. Yeah, and then one of them sunk because the young captain crashed
in New Year's Eve.
On New Year's Eve, of all the things to crash. But then when they came back, La Pinta was the smallest one. It was fastest.
Yeah.
And it found its way into this port. Hey, Jeff. So it found its way into this port and changed the world forever. Right? Came back with already enslaved indigenous
down
people.
in Europe to get the news of the Americans.
That's right. Yeah. The first down in Europe. Now, when we talk about ancient this is, we're going to go... Now, it really is raining, unfortunately. We've got umbrellas. But if we come along here, this is so different than southern Spain. Look at the fort up on the hill here. I mean, we walked the whole thing in 2 different ways. Hey, Margaret. We walked the whole thing in 2 different ways this morning, all around. Yeah. But this fort on the hill starts out as a Celtic fort, something like 600 years before Christ.
Yeah, something like that.
So, honestly, Celtic, the same, the Irish, right? So that fort, and what we see there really starts from the 11th century. Yeah. I mean, it is just... Now again, it's already going to clear again. The sky is moving. It really feels like weather in the west of Ireland or the west of Scotland.
Galician weather.
Yeah, Galician weather. But they must, no kidding, Chloe, they must have been so happy to see Bayona when they arrived here. Now the water is clear as can be. We were watching a cormorant earlier today, and because the water was so clear, we were watching it swim underneath, chasing fish.
It's amazing how they...
And then the gull was chasing it, trying to get a free lunch, which... You know what? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Talking about lunch, actually, why don't we keep walking? We get away from the noise of the traffic. But if we look down here, this street is called?
Rua Pinto, no Rua...
No. Yeah, I think it's the La Pinta Street. Right? So you'll see this architecture. I mean, it's just pretty spectacular. You know what I'm going to do? Do you mind taking this 1 second?
Yeah, I can take
I'm going to just open my one too, because now I can see blue sky opening again. Yes. But ta-da! There we go. Thanks, bud. So Sean and Tiernan and I just want to talk a little technically here for a minute. Hey, Allison, nice there. There you go. Well, tour guides got to watch out for tour guides. And Ali, I'm so glad you're here because Tiernan, of course, did live in Scotland for a while.
Yeah.
So even though for 6 months, right? Because Sean grew up in Vancouver, and so did Mike. But both parents are Scottish. even though they have Irish names. So it's a great connection all around the world. That's a good question, Chloe. Whether I'm qualified to use my umbrella unsupervised, I think it's a fair question. All these people bundled up are doing what Camino are they doing?
Portuguese way.
Yeah.
Well, some of them they do the French way. So they do
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important here, the way of St. James.
So the way of St. James, and I put up
James,
a little short about him yesterday. But have a look at this. This was the 500-year centenario. Yeah, 5 centuries now of when the ships left in 1492
And
from
they left
Huelva.
From Palos de la Frontera, yeah.
Yeah, Palos de la Frontera. And they still say on here, discovery of America, which we do not say at all anymore. It was contact. And I think that's very significant because, of course, generally speaking, the Indigenous response to contact was death, up to 90%. So there's a lot of heavy, heavy history there. But 3 ships go over, 2 come back. And this is the first town really to realize that you had another whole people. Although they still didn't know. They still didn't know there were 2 full continents, Turtle Island and South America. But have a look at the route
And these
out
are
here.
the names of the crew members that went on the Pinta.
Oh, right.
So
There we are. These are the
you can
crew.
see at the top the
Yeah.
name of the captain, Martin Alonso Pinton.
Okay.
The captain.
And was this the captain who brought back syphilis, or was it a different one?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the...
He brought back syphilis, so that was his gift to Europe after coming over. But when you look at this map here in front of us, so they sail back from La Española or Hispaniola, but keep in mind the other contacts that happen is up here. I'll even use this right there. That's the island of Newfoundland. And that was a souvenir, no kidding. That was, of course, where in 1497, not long after, the Italian Giovanni Cabatti, or John Cabot, was hired by the English, sails over into the harbor and puts up a Union flag and says this is a newfound land. So all that connection. But of course, on the back of this crossing the sea here, the Pope switches their dividing line for the world, and basically Brazil becomes Portuguese and the rest becomes Spanish. Yeah, it was very generous. So, I mean, an incredible amount of history that went on there. But let's, we'll come out. This archway is actually, there's a little map over here too. YouTube tells me to keep the camera in vertical. It's a bit of a shame, but nevertheless, have a look at these routes. So, the Portuguese, of course, had their triangular sails, and they went up and down the coast and out to the Cape Verde Islands and so forth. But it was this journey across. Now, interesting debate now whether Columbus really was Italian. There's a strong suggestion he may well have been Portuguese. But the Portuguese crown did not support him in going across, so it was Isabella la Católica who then paid for the journey with the 3 ships. They go and land, of course, in the Caribbean. Called it the West Indies. They should have called it the East Indies because they thought they were in India. Already some blue sky forming. But it is amazing. But look at this incredible fortress out here. So we're just a short distance north of Portugal. I've already, with these guys, plotted out a trip for probably next year. Portugal, fly into Lisbon, up to Porto, up to here, and to Santiago de Compostela, which is the capital of Galicia. Hi, Michelle. Hola.
Hi, Michelle.
So it's, such a significant thing. And I just think this, I've just totally, what am I not listening to? Well, there's just so much. Do you know what, Martine? Because I don't think I can see the chat if I put it, and they tell me to do it this way. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, doesn't that sound like fun tour? So we're going to find some dates right away because I'm also not just toying with a lot of people asking for a Morocco tour, and I'm working on an itinerary for that. But I think on the back of what we just did is kind of an intro to Spain. Coming up here, now I would put much more culinary experience into this trip because it is just...
Yes, gastronomy is very important here.
It is. I mean, we had those scallops yesterday. By the way, for those of you who are vegetarian on board, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yep. There's
alternatives. Yeah.
There are a lot of the cheeses, but it's very seafoody here, of course. But I just had meat for lunch, and it was good. And yeah, I wanted breakfast, beautiful breakfast at the hotel, and I'm just never hungry. But check this fart. Now, what they've done with this fortress is one of the hotels I stayed in on our trip. Well, Michelle's here, she knows. we stayed at this Parador down in Cadiz, and it was just such a fabulous hotel. They've got one built in the middle of this old fortress. Now there's a 2-kilometer walk?
2 kilometer walk, yeah.
Yeah.
2 kilometer walk.
So we walked the 2 kilometers around the outside, but we want to take you up to a monument. Look, the sun's coming out again. There we go. So it's going to be easy. Hey, total different note just about Spain at the moment. And I like to share it, is they have so many of these parks out here, and they're actually mobility accessible, but they also have the exercise parks. And up here, fitness parks, yeah? And you produce a lot of Olympic athletes, rowing.
Rowing, that's
Yeah.
a very important water sport here.
Water.
Sailing as well,
Yeah.
kayaking.
I was watching them do that. In fact, Tiernan's going to go up to the exercise thing and do 50 pull-ups for us. We're going to count.
One arm pull.
So Tiernan and his dad run the Eat and Walkabout company. It was really good catching up with Sean about, the whole process, because he's actually had a business here for 25 years. Pandemic, of course, closed everything down. So they restarted this sort of culinary focus. And I see why. I mean, yesterday, right after I arrived, they took me into, when I talk about a tiny place, 3 tables, and we had all these different cheeses from the region. I've watched it on your tours before, but I think it was when you had the festival here of the arrival of the Pinta.
Yeah.
I remember just watching that one. So service is excellent and not as busy as the rest of Spain. Now I expect you to get pretty busy in the summer.
On the summertime, yeah, we get a lot of the people from national tourism as well, and from Portugal, a lot of people.
Oh, ciao, hola, Jose Valdo, ciao. Now, here's the big monument coming up here. And I'm posting a little YouTube video about this, which I'll appreciate if everyone shares. But are you happy to tell us about this?
Yeah,
Tierra?
this statue that we have over here, it's called the Encuentro entre dos mundos, the meeting between 2 worlds. So it represents the Galicians and the Native Americans, and as well the people who emigrated. And in the middle you can see a sphere over there.
Mm-hmm.
That symbolizes the world. So it's like it represents the 5 groups of the Americans, the immigrants, and the Galicians.
So this is,
And it was in honor to the discovery of the America.
and like I say, my friend, we don't say discovery, but it's so political in Canada now.
Yeah.
And given that you're a Canadian, so here's the monument. But what I learned yesterday is fascinating. So, Monumento Encuentro
entre dos mundos.
Entre dos mundos. So there is the Galician language as well. But what was so fascinating in Vigo, they had huge emigration out to both Argentina during its really during its that boom that you had between about 1905 and 1920 in Argentina, and then Brazil. But they came back with money. And Vigo went from a town, what were you saying, about 5,000 people to hundreds of thousands.
5,000 to 300,000 inhabitants now.
Yeah,
So
with big...
it grew a lot.
Grew a lot, and really that kind of monumental architecture that one would expect. It felt very Argentine to me. So fascinating. Just fascinating. Now, it's getting clear. I guess we can almost put these away.
Yeah.
There we go. I might ask you to close mine for me if you don't mind. Thanks, bud. So for those of you who haven't yet seen Tiernan, there he is. They have umbrellas here because they get rain. It feels like there he is. But the umbrella. It's a good job. Now, shall we go down this way? Check out the walls of this fort.
Down this way.
We could spend, honestly, we spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours going around the whole thing and the views of the coastline. But also, what's so fascinating, it's so beautiful in this area, is they have their Atlantic Islands National Park. Now, I had read about it before coming here, but there's 3 islands. They've capped the number of people that can go there every day. And you go out by boat, and I guess the beach is extremely popular. Look at all the birds. But this is lush and green, and again, it feels very much like the west of Ireland to me. Hello. But of course, milder. Now, Tiernan, could you tell us about this structure out in front of us?
That they used to store here the corn. So it's an Oreo. It's called an Oreo. It's made of granite. That's a traditional thing where they used to store corn and to keep away from the rats.
Yep. So the North American equivalent of this would be called a cache, C-A-C-H-E. And up behind people's houses, thanks Martine, behind people's houses in Alaska, their houses are up on stilts, same thing. But the fact that they raised corn here, you know, corn is not raised that much in Europe, not like it is, of course, in Mexico and places like that. But they have these as little monuments around throughout the region. So I expect they even predate contact. Would they? Would they have been used? Yeah. They'd almost be Celtic. But are you ready for some just breathtaking views out here, everyone? So here comes the sun again. So it's turning beautiful. Flowers are out everywhere. Honestly, I'm not kidding. This place has surpassed my expectations. I knew I wanted to come out and hang out with Sean and Tiernan. And I knew, given they run...
You around, so.
You did? Well, they wanted... You know, they do culinary tours.
Best places.
Yeah. Oh, it's just... So yeah, I mean, it's only a couple of days. So I've got some time tomorrow, and then I'm heading down to Madrid and flying home the next day. But have a look at this pretty wild... The corn is used both. They actually eat a cornbread here, which you don't think of in Europe so much, but also to keep it away from the animals. But it was used as feed for sure. But as you get to these islands out there in the distance, that's actually a Spanish national park. Isn't that really? I mean, I think that's pretty remarkable. Hey, by the way, everyone, I don't know how to do it, but I think you can invite people on board on these tours. But hoping maybe in Vigo a little later, I might try and do a Facebook Live with Sean if the weather's good, just so. But have a look at these crashing. I mean, it's all granite up here. Oh, this coastline is fantastic. So where we are, like I say, we're just north of Portugal. By how long would it take to drive to Portugal from here?
1 hour, 45 minutes, less than 2 hours.
Oh, to Porto?
To Porto.
But to the border?
Portugal, like half an hour, something like that, yeah.
Half an hour to get down to the border. So that's really where we are in the world. And of course, the Galician language is sort of a mix of Portuguese. Yeah. No, Martin, I haven't been over. You've been over many times to the islands?
Yeah. The Theas Islands.
I'm sure they said, excellent question. Do you guys organize guided excursions to the islands?
We don't, but we're gonna start offering, we might start offering tours there on the islands as well.
I think what we're already planning, everyone, we'll be flying into Lisbon, 3 days there and doing the sites you have to do in Lisbon, then up to Porto, where we have a day dedicated to, well, port wine, and then up here for, I think, 4 nights and going out to the different excursions around. But this, Bayona, totally deserves a full day just unto itself. I mean, just walking around here. And aside from that, I mean, we've only had lunch and we've already, we have hours more to do. Vigo's definitely worth a half day, but what we would do, of course, is a culinary visit with Sean or Tiernan together. And again, for those who don't eat meat, the cheeses.
Cheeses are really good.
Cheeses are really good. The wines are really good. If you don't like wine, there's water. Check out, you can tell the dominant winds. They get big storms here. But again, because we're so far south of Britain and Ireland and everything, it's just that little bit milder. But look at the colors. I mean, I've been trying to take photos today, and this is one place. And I get to these places 4 or 5 times a year where I wish I actually had a bigger, broader lens. You know, this iPhone is so good. Chloe, you could come and lose weight. Well, Finn would struggle here because, of course, there's so much pork in the diet in Spain. Yeah. So keeping kosher, you can do it, but it's a lot more work. Also, a town I want to go to is Rivera. It's where... Rivadavia. And that's where a lot of the Sephardic Jews hid out away from Isabella la Católica, who was expelling them from the country. And that part of Spanish history, I must say, I always find I really, really struggle with. Have a look at all the flowering bushes coming out here. And then the gulls around. I mean, it's truly a castle, right? Up on the mountain. Martine, when you say there's always garlic, I mean, I wake up in the morning and my room smells like garlic. I've actually brushed my teeth in the middle of the night just to get back to sleep. So that's a big factor. And it's not spicy food, of course. And then everything's done in olive oil. I will say though, if you eat seafood, we had scallops yesterday, which is probably the best I've ever had.
Yeah, the best ones.
And out from where we're staying in Moana is some of the biggest, if not the biggest, mussel production in the world, right?
Yes.
So here and then southern Chile, where I used to live, but in southern Chile, there's been a lot of pollution, whereas here, they call it is blue flag is the term?
Atlantic blue mussels.
Yeah, no, but the flag for the beach,
Blue flag. Yeah,
blue flag, yeah,
beaches,
meaning they're
Yeah.
clean water.
Clean,
And
you can swim.
yeah, very consistent and healthy that way. Isn't this just breathtaking? So I think most of our friends over in the Americas are probably still asleep, but it would be really nice when we're done if you don't mind sharing this video on all of your social media, everyone. It's just we have to move on and head back to Vigo, so I couldn't make it any later. The coast, Chloe, is absolutely breathtaking, and you see it's all granite.
And you can see the paddler in the distance.
Yeah, now this is a paddler. This is all a hotel.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, wonderful use of a place that would have been war-torn for 2,000 years, right? For something like 100 or 150 years, the whole town had to live inside the walls for protection. Now remember, Sir Francis Drake even came up and burnt Vigo. So you've also got all that pirate tradition as well. Sir Francis Drake also burnt Cadiz, sieged Cadiz, yeah. And so that's why Seville became so much the port for all the gold coming back. I mean, it's incredible history there. But we're not going to take you the whole way around just because it takes too long. But why don't we head back and give you some of the views of town. So just coming back to Tiernan, you grew up right more or less in Vigo. Yeah,
I grew up we were first living in Vigo. And then we moved across the bay to a small fishing village, which is called Cangas de Morazo. That's where I grew up there, where I studied.
And Morazo is a peninsula right across the bay from Vigo. People sometimes feel like it's an island, but it isn't.
It feels like an island, but it's a whole peninsula of small villages.
Becky, you're absolutely right. Becky said she's up and she's in Montana. So thank you for being an early riser. But it's worth getting up for. Look at where we are now.
Worth it.
Oh yeah. And the birds around, I had to use the app to listen to some of the different birds. Some of them are very familiar, but this is actually even a little cool for this time of year. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 9 degrees Celsius, so
it was definitely 9 this morning. I'd say it's a bit warmer now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, now it's
but
warmer.
Maybe 14 for me, it's perfect. But yeah, so this town has grown a lot, and apparently the King of Spain comes up here to sail. Is that correct? Yeah?
He does an important regatta here.
A regatta, okay. And the current King of Spain is?
Felipe.
But he's the son.
The son of
Carlos.
Carlos.
Yeah, and Carlos was the one who got in trouble.
Yeah.
He said he liked to spend a lot of money. And so he got a lot of money from the Saudis. I don't recommend doing a lot of business with the Saudis, but teach their own from that point of view. Look at the walls built in. So 2 layers of walls, a huge arch as we came in to this old fortified area. But keep in mind, so the Celts arrive here, call it 800 BC. Do you know there's evidence of proto-humans anyway living here 85,000 years ago? I mean, isn't that just sort of overwhelming? So exposed granite all through here. So many of the people who would have been, the Pictish people as we talk about, who would have been up in some of those archaeological sites in the north of Scotland and the west of Ireland, same sort of peoples at that point. But Bayona does have a lot, this whole area now has a lot of the Airbnb. They get a lot of national tourism, but they're saying, a lot of it are these 2 religious treks that Tiernan was talking about. The famous one, Santiago de Compostela, the one right across the top. Is that generally 21 days or 28 days?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then this one, the one that we're seeing people, they're coming up from Portugal, walking the whole Atlantic coast. Yeah. And they've had a couple of days of rain now. And you can tell who they are because they have the big backpacks and they have the plastic over. And one of the things these guys do with their business is for people who are doing like the high-end version of that, they will organize them to have their luggage taken to the next guest house,
the accommodation.
And all that. So, and people do their trek and they also cycle it. I thought that was interesting to learn.
And horseback as well.
Oh, and horseback, yeah. Yeah, that would be Yeah, that'd be a whole lot of work. See, all this healthy facilities around here. I really love that. So up in Vigo itself was a real mix of architectures. Oh, sorry, tell me about, these are Crusader crosses?
Crossways, yeah,
Oh.
cruceros se llaman, yeah.
Yeah.
It's called cruceros.
So the Crusaders, of course, I mean, you're in the heart and soul, of course, of Catholic Europe. And as you get down to Lisbon, I mean, that was so often considered by the papacy kind of the headquarters of exporting Catholicism around the world. I prefer Spain much better now than even 1974 when Franco was still in power. He was Galician, by the way, Franco.
Yeah, from A Coruña.
From A Coruña, even though he didn't let them speak their own language. So now all the signs are actually in Galician in their own language, which I read just fine because it's really a cross between Spanish and Portuguese.
Yeah.
You know, so it's 90% is easy to work out. The pronunciation, we need to get up to Santiago de Compostela where apparently on the street, it's sort of the main spoken language. Gallego, yeah. And then right down here, if we get to the border with Portugal, how close are you guys linguistically at that point?
Really close. You can even go to the border and speak in Galician, they can understand you.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Yeah.
So
You
it's
can
that
speak Gallego
natural.
and they understand you. It's like Portuguese.
Yeah. So when you go to Catalonia, you go up to the French border and you get Occitan, still kind of the same language. And remember, in Spain now, they're autonomous regions. So that's a little different. Look at all the bird life is fantastic. By the way, I can see the Spanish flag. Now
And the Galician flag as well with the coat of arms.
that's the Galician flag, the shield with the blue stripe through it. Here, I'll zoom in for everybody. And then the other one behind, would that be the town flag?
That's the town flag, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there's the different flags. Oh, well, AV 1611, that's very good news. Someone's just said that Jesus loves me. I don't know. I never met him in my synagogue. But have a look at all the flowers are out. So we're going to wander back down to the bay because we do need to get going fairly soon, but we really wanted to come. I really wanted to get a video here, and I'm really keen if everyone can share these videos because I also want them to know that I just ran a very successful tour of Spain, and these guys took care of the transportation, the accommodation for me, and that's what they do. But they also guide locally here, and again they've got a food focus, which is, I have to say, very spoiled. Part of the reason I really wanted to come and visit them. Although I had entrecote for lunch today, and then hopefully I get hungry again by the evening. But I had some really interesting tapas last night. What's that we just passed on the right? Oh, good. That monument right there, that little pillar. Yeah, there. Well, that's a good question, Martine. It's a pillar that represents a beautiful hand with a spike. This is not an April Fool's. Did actually walk past. This one feels more Celtic to me, actually. But we'll tell you, there's no plaque on it. No, it was a monument. Now it's just a pillar. It's
Like a bench.
Yeah, it is sort of a bench. I think it's there. Classic bench.
Yeah.
What it indicates is where the sky is, which is up. So that's the way it's pointing. In case you're wondering. So anything else you need clarifying, I'm here for you. You thought it was distinctly pillar-like. Indeed. Good thing we pointed it out. But let's wander down back to the water now that we have the nice clear weather. So I'm just watching my step as I go down. Not too slippery, but yesterday I had when I was flying, I have my slip-on shoes, and they get slippery when the water's down here. Well, it's true anywhere. But of course, down in southern Spain, you have a lot of they have a lot of marble down on the ground when it does rain. But then down in Malaga, and hopefully many of you were able to watch the video of the tour I did in Malaga, it actually rained a bit, and it's sunny 300 days a year. So that's a big difference. And in fact, when it was raining, staff in restaurants are coming out and filming it. So, whereas, how many days of rain would you have a year up here on average, do you think?
On average, most of the days during the summertime it's like 10 days of rain, something like that. 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 days of rain.
But the winter months, it rains.
Winter months, yeah, it rains.
Rains most days.
It rains a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So again, feels very Irish, or, very much that feel. I'm just going to show this little plaque over here. It gives a sense of the whole layout of this. The trees are gorgeous, aren't they? Yeah. But this is Baiona, which actually should be spelled as well, B-A-Y if we're in Spanish.
In Castilian Spanish.
Castilian.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you say Castilian. When I lived in Chile, I said
different.
Castellano. I never said Espanol. Yeah, but so this is that entire. But imagine your whole life living inside.
The beaches that surround the whole wall.
Mm-hmm.
Small beaches.
And would that have been an island originally, do you think?
It might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the island's out in the distance. You saw on Facebook, everyone, I put up one little video out there. But yeah, have a look at these walls out here. Among the other fun things is because it's not over touristed up here. And again, the service in Spain is overall just excellent all the time anyway. But I find the service is welcoming. And I've been interested because we've been speaking between English and Spanish together. They'll come over and really try and speak English, just that nice sort of sense of hospitality. But that, 20 years ago in Spain, you just didn't expect to hear any of it. No. Actually, I'll give you a good view now of the Pinta, of the replica, because the weather's better. And now it's getting so hot, we're unzipping our jackets. And it's that coastal sort of feel. So here we are. So now, this is apparently, they think it is really to scale. So this gives you a sense. So set aside all the crimes against humanity that opened up with this crossing in contact with what they called the New World. It wasn't the New World to everyone who lived there. But imagine being out in the open ocean just with wind sails. Just imagine that. And I think one of the points that I always like to make, so 1492, this comes back here, 1493. What?
1st of March?
1st of March.
1493, yeah.
They pull in here, and everything on board was considered exotic, right?
Exotic animals, parrots, gold.
Yeah, gold, of course. So they come in but by 1526, that was the first Portuguese ship full of enslaved Africans going over. That's how soon the world changes and commits the greatest crime of all time. And it took 274 years, I think, for that to end. I mean, it's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And then these old fortifications, of course. Now, we're up in Galicia. So if we went east along the north, we would get the next region over is Asturias. And that was the one place in Spain that wasn't fully conquered by the Moors. And what's his name?
Santiago Matamoros.
Santiago, which in English is Saint James.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saint James, the Moor killer. Yeah. So I did you'll have to look. I did a little short about him. It was actually Sean explaining it yesterday, but it actually shows him out front of a church, like stabbing Moors. But then they cut his arm off because at one point they were apparently turning priests into eunuchs. I mean, this friendly, easy, fun country and this history. This is an old well.
This is where the caravel, the Pinta, resupplied water during their journey down to Los Palos de Frontera to bring the news to Palos de Frontera. So that's when they arrived here. They were going to Palos de Frontera, so they resupply water here for the caravel.
Okay, so they docked the water up.
Poza das Aguadas, it's called. Aguadas.
And then, do you have any idea how long it would have taken them to sail around to Puerto de Palos, to Huelva? That's still several days, right?
Yeah, several days, yeah.
And they would have been going down the coast. So now we climb into some more of this history. So Sir Francis Drake, of course, then comes all the way up here as this becomes such an important port. Then so many of these Galician people say move away to South America, make money, and come all the way back home. So, it's pretty amazing. And you get a sense the front here, of course, there's lots of new buildings, but this heavy granite architecture. So it really is granite. It's granite and green. And they even have an indigenous wild horse here. What's
Yeah.
the horse called?
It's called Garrano. It's an
Garrano.
indigenous horse that we have here in the hills of Bayona.
That's pretty cool. So, yeah, so much to see. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to go meet Sean down at the car. Keep your eyes and ears open for a Facebook Live. I'm not able to schedule on Facebook while I'm here. For some reason, it just doesn't pick up my location, so it doesn't allow me to schedule. But if I can, I'd love to get Sean out. But more importantly, there is the Eat and Walkabout captains. So contact me or contact them directly if you need some help for a trip over here. But already, I think we'll put up a date for next year. Portugal, Galicia.
Of course.
With a lot of food. Thank you, Chloe. So, yeah.
Galician food,
lot of
the
food.
best food.
Well, it's there's a strong argument. I'm just loving it. All right. Ok, sí, vamos a trabajar de nuevo. Bueno, no tanto ahora. Bueno, encantado a todos.
Encantados.
Peace and love. So try and behave yourselves. And if you can't, that's quite all right. But let me just give you a final view. Oh, here comes the next. Well, it's hard to say. So the islands of the national park are straight out here. Also, thank you everyone for your contributions. There is a link below, of course, to donations on the page. It will go, I promise, to lots of food. Brasileño. And then here's blue sky over here. So, you know, that's what's happening all day long with the weather. Just feels so Celtic. Feels so much like that kind of climate. So lots of love, everyone. Hi, trees. Nice to see you. So please, honestly, if you can share this video because it was earlier than a lot of people could make, much appreciated. And keep in touch. We'll see you all very soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.